We're almost at the end of this, folks, and here's what the old man says in phase 3 of the game. And this is one of my favorite glitches in the game. The Death Mountain Descent. It still works in the GBA version, thank God. Move 1 pixel to the right. Something you couldn't do in Zelda 1. And now you're 1 pixel further to the right than the game expects you to be. Now, very slowly back up into the warp portal so that you don't go too far into it. And jump to the right. And because the developers never thought you'd be able to get here, they didn't bother to make the hole an actual hole. So you don't fall into it, you just walk into it. And because they programmed a general scrolling instruction rather than putting invisible walls everywhere, you can scroll down from there and get here from the Death Mountain. Now, the reason why this happens is because the borders of the ledge aren't considered solid when you're warping, they're only considered solid when you're moving. Warning! The following glitches have a high possibility of making you lose your save file, will crash your game, or will crash your game with a high risk of corrupting your save files, in that order. Use at your own risk. Yeah, we're getting to the really dangerous glitches here, folks. There are multiple different rooms that can crash your game if you go into them using the walkthrough walls glitch. And I'm going to be showing off each and every one of them. When you're past phase 1, then you don't start out in Hyrule Castle anymore, and so getting to it and using it as a place to use the glitch is less convenient. So I like to use this cave after I'm past phase 1. What I'm showing off here is something that can potentially overwrite your save data. But that didn't happen to me for some reason. But sometimes, if you use the save and quit glitch and then go to another file and then save there, then your file data will be overwritten. Yeah, this is really weird. When I'm playing the game on my Super Nintendo, the game always crashes when I go to a Ganon's room when I'm with the walk the walls glitch after I pass phase 2 of the game. But here it didn't happen for some reason. But usually there's a flash of light, and I think a lightning sound, and then the game just immediately goes to black screen and crashes. But it didn't happen here. I guess this was accidentally fixed for the Virtual Console release. But yeah, try not to go into those rooms when you're playing this on Super Nintendo, or Game Boy Advance, I suppose. If you go into the pipe rooms of Turtle's Rock, then it'll always crash the game, because it always crashes if you don't have the right colors corresponding to Turtle Rock, and there's no known way to get the right colors going into there. And now, here's the worst one. Room 45. This one is legendary among glitchers of this game. This is the worst crash room of all. And there's a really bad glitch in the Game Boy Advance version of this game, where if you go into this room and then you use the magic mirror to warp away from that room, and of course you have to be in a dungeon because magic mirror doesn't work in caves, but anyways, you go to room 45 and then you use magic mirror, and then you're in this really badly corrupted state, where all of your rupees are constantly decreasing, and oh wow, I always get startled by seeing that. And you are stuck at a really low amount of health, and getting more health gets you a smaller amount of health or something. And it just, your sprite looks really weird, and it's just hard to describe, but look it up. It's really, really messed up. And do not save after you do that. But this is the worst glitch of all. this has the highest rate of corrupting your save file. I think this is a hoppable room, but I'm not really sure. I have a sneaking suspicion that if you hop into here, then you'll just be invisible. And if you try to go south and exit through the door, then you won't actually go outside. But I might be wrong about that. But if you want to keep exploring the underworld of the houses, then don't go through that door just in case, because then you'll just go into the dark world and you don't want that. In the Game Boy Advance version, if you go into the dark world from the light world using the walk the walls glitch, and then you keep scrolling, and then you scroll another screen, then the game will automatically correct the mistake, and you'll be brought to the correct world. But that doesn't happen in the Game Boy Advance version. And I love how beautiful the Hakaru village looks with the village of outcasts colors. That's something I forgot to mention. But yeah, this is a really messed up underworld. As you can see, the screen scrolling glitch is really easy to happen. So I wasn't able to show you all of it, and I wasn't gutsy enough to try to do this glitch again. Because not only do you have to use the overwriting save data glitch. Yep, see, it crashed. And there's a very high probability that if it crashes here, then all of your save files will be corrupted. That didn't happen to me. Maybe because I was playing the Wii Virtual Console version. But yeah, don't go too far down and east in the underworld of the houses. You do not want to do that. Think you can be lucky like me? Try it on emulator. You've been warned. Again, these are really dangerous glitches that can actually corrupt your save file. So, to end it all off, I present to you the credits. Or rather, the credits that speedrunners through the game see. Because remember, this is still phase 1 of the game. You're supposed to still be under the rain by this point. So, because the game still thinks it's raining, the rain still happens during the credits sequence. Although, for some reason, the rain isn't moving, it's just trapped there. Why are the red people lit up, but everyone else isn't? That's really weird. And look, there's a transparent wall there. I don't know why that happened. And I love this music. And look, the woman, she's sort of lit up. What is it about that specific color that makes the villagers not really affected by the rain? And why are so many villagers made darkened by the rain in the first place? They're not programmed to be out in the rain. They shouldn't have a darkener. They shouldn't be darkened by the rain in the first place. And for some reason, the rainy glitchiness doesn't happen in the mountain when you're here. In the credits. A glitch I haven't talked about yet is the Super Bunny glitch, where it allows you to use your sword as a bunny, but you can't actually use any items, so you're still really helpless and can't really do much. And there are many ways to turn into a Super Bunny in this game. Some that are really hard to describe, like one where you warp in deep water and you get healed by a fairy. When you get revived by a fairy and then you become a bunny, it's really hard to describe. And an easy way is to enter Skull Woods by dropping through the hole, and you'll become a Super Bunny. And you can also become. Okay, well the problem is that you revert from Super Bunny form to normal bunny form after you're hit. So that's one of the reasons why it's impossible to beat Ganon as Super Bunny. Because it's impossible to use items as Super Bunny, and it's impossible not to get hit as when fighting Ganon, because his boss fight is so cheap. So you can't beat Ganon. Oh yeah, and you need the fire rod and silver arrows to beat him, so it would still be impossible. You'll revert to normal Link if a fairy revives you in deep water, if you die in a dungeon, and if you get grabbed by a wall master, you'll also revert it to Link. Dying in a dungeon reverts you to normal Link because the game only has one resurrection script. So you always get resurrected as human Link. Well, unless you're in the overworld, in the dark world, in which case you get resurrected as Bunny Link. And Kiki the monkey never shows up if you're a bunny. So that's a big reason why you can't get into the Palace of Darkness without getting the Moon Pearl first. I mean, you can. And like, if you enter the Dark Palace, then you can actually make the game realize that you're in it by exiting the Dark Palace as if everything's fine. And then you might think that you're stuck in the wall, and you might think that you're stuck in the door that Kiki needs to open, but you just use the magic mirror so that the game knows that you're in the dark world. And then you press down so that you push against the upper part of the door that is locked. And then the game will realize, oh, you're supposed to be in the transition zone. And so you'll go into the Palace of Darkness and enter it properly. I think that maybe the developers knew about the fact that there's only one resurrection script, because that there must have been, it feels like an obvious patch. It feels like an obvious rule patch that they made Kiki the monkey not appear when you're a bunny. Because they probably discovered the fact that playtesters could still get to the Palace of Darkness as a bunny, and then die in the Palace of Darkness, and then all of a sudden they're human Link, and then they can just beat it as normal. And now, granted, they wouldn't be able to progress any further than that in the Dark World, because they would still turn into a bunny, and there's no way for Bunny Link to grab onto objects. So Bunny Link can't enter Thieves Town because he can't grab onto the thing, the gargoyle with the pitchfork, and pull it. And well, I think he can enter Dungeon 2. He can definitely enter Dungeon 3, and because of the whole Wallmaster thing, he could probably beat that too. But I've never tried the Super Bunny glitch. I mean, I love the bunny music and all, but it seems really pointless. I mean, you can't really do much as a bunny, and even as a Super Bunny, you can't use any items, so you're really helpless, and there's not much you can do. You can't really get very far in the game, even as Super Bunny. But I haven't finished explaining about the Death Mountain Descent glitch. The borders of the ledge aren't considered solid while you're warping, they're only considered solid while you're moving. If you turn to Hyrule standing where the hole in the bridge used to be, you'll actually start falling forever. Like, you'll spawn into the hole, and then you'll start falling. And then the place where you respawn is inside that very hole, so you keep falling forever. And thankfully, you get a game over eventually. So it's not like in Twilight Princess, where you can make it so that you're infinitely falling into a hole over and over again, and you never get a game over. I forget how exactly that happens though. And when you're walking around in the Death Mountain Descent Black Void, go north of the bridge and you'll find a wall. And if you keep going north, you'll jump, but you'll end up below where you jumped from, which is pretty weird. And you can actually go back to that Black Void by scrolling north and give the mountain the colors of the world below the mountain. So it's really cool. Like, you can make the mountain look like it's just an ordinary part of the overworld. I always use the Death Mountain Descent when I'm playing the game normally. And yeah, it's weird how the game thinks that I died 3 times in Ganon's Castle, even though in this run of the game at this point, I had never even been to Ganon's Castle. I mean, why would the game ever think I had been there when I had never even entered it? That's a really weird quirk. And of course the game probably thinks that I died because I saved. And when you save and quit, it counts as a death. But anyways, I always use a Death Mountain Descent when playing the game because, again, I hate ruining Kakaroo Village by beating Ganon for the first time. So I always do that to keep things normal. And sometimes what I like to do is get the magic cape early and then wait until I get the magic cape before beating the third boss. Because seriously, fuck that boss. It's a really horrible boss. But there are a lot of glitches that I didn't do, mostly involving the Super Bunny. I'm not really sure if I can do some of them, and I'm not really motivated to do them. Maybe I'll do it in the version differences video, because I am going to be showing off some of the GBA exclusive glitches later on. And it's weird how a GBA port of this game added in glitches. I mean, I consider it to be more of a remake because they did add in a bonus dungeon after all. Even if the graphics are the same, it's still a remake to me. But they added in a lot of glitches too, and mostly minor ones. And again, they took out the save and quit glitch, so it still feels like an altogether less glitchy game to me. And so I feel less motivated to play it. Because glitches really breathe new life into this game for me. Again, I played it so many times that I've memorized it, and it feels kind of stale as a result. So I need to use glitches to make it feel more fresh and interesting. That's not to say it's a bad game, though. I'm not really sure what logically, the next Zelda game I'm going to do is going to be Link's Awakening. But I don't have a Game Boy player. Now, I might be able to buy Bandicam and use that to record Link's Awakening off an emulator. But I'm not going to have Bandicam for at least a few days. And I don't have the DX version of Link's Awakening on the emulator. I'm not even sure if you can get it, to be honest. So I'll have to use the Game Boy player to show off the DX Extra Dungeon. And I'm not going to have a Game Boy player for quite a while either. So I'm not sure if I should just go on a Zelda hiatus and keep just posting Sonic videos and potentially have people complain that there's too much Sonic. Or maybe I'll just do things a little out of order and skip straight to Wind Waker. And then go back to do the previous games later. I guess I'm going to go on a little Zelda hiatus. And I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll do some games other than Sonic. But I'm not entirely sure about that, because there aren't that many games that I'm passionate enough about that I can provide a good commentary over. So, anyways, I've gone on for too long. My point is, the next Zelda game will either be Link's Awakening or Wind Waker to avoid making you wait too long for another Zelda game. See you then.